Welcome to Muddy River News This Week, furnished by Harvey's. I'm Bob Goff. Kyle Moore has been the president of the Great River Economic Development Foundation since June. The former mayor of Quincy, still doing civic duty, just in a little bit of a different role, but there are actually some parallels, and we are going to discuss that with Mr. Moore today. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me back.
I'm glad to have you back in this capacity now. So you're still kind of in the honeymoon phase, you said?
Yeah. It's been fun.
Are you liking it?
Oh, it's a great time, and there's so many of the things that I was doing in my previous job that are continuing now with GREDF, and we have such a wonderful staff too that I've gotten to know, and Marcel's been wonderful during their transition, and the board's been really supportive. So it's wonderful to still be doing what I was passionate about as mayor, but in this different capacity and seeing all the great momentum that Quincy has.
One of the things that has been highly talked about has been the marketing plan, the Quincy's Calling marketing campaign. You guys have been a factor in that, right?
Yeah, so GREDF is the lead agency in terms of implementing the strategic marketing campaign. And this is really an innovative campaign that few communities across America are doing. And we started seeing it when we did that strategic plan in 2017, 2018, and we knew there were going to be 3,800 new jobs created in Adams County over a 10-year period. And of course, we knew at that time we were having an aging and stagnant population, and now we find out we lost population. Mm-hmm. And when we were talking about workforce shortages then, I don't think people really felt it. But now we feel it in our everyday lives. You feel it when your restaurant's closed. You feel it when you go to the appliance store and you can't get a refrigerator. And so now we see how important it is for our community to be able to fill the over 750 jobs that are open in this community today. And of course, those 3,600 jobs that will continue to be created as our economy continues to grow.
And you talk, that sort of ties into the housing market a little bit, where houses seem to be flipping and selling pretty quickly around here. But I've also talked to a couple of friends of mine who are involved in moves, and they're saying, well, we'd like to move, but we can't get our cabinets or whatever. So the supply issue is certainly a national issue, but Quincy feels that as well.
Yeah, I mean, the supply chain issue and the housing issue, and I know we'll talk about that as we're talking about the challenges of some of these initiatives that GREDF is a part of. But I think for the Quincy's Calling campaign, this is really an innovative approach, and we're using, we're not just throwing a big blanket over America and saying, hey, come to Quincy. We're being strategic about how we're doing it. First, we're trying to recruit Quincy alumni to come back to Quincy. So we're using, AI that you can gather from LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all those things. Also, we're working with our colleges and universities to send introductory emails to their alumni, offering for them to join into the campaign, and really talking about the quality of life that is available in Quincy compared to where other folks are moving from. For example, during my time as GREDF president, we've had 5 families move from Colorado. And the reason why they moved to Quincy from Colorado is because the cost of living. It's so expensive to live in Colorado right now. They can enjoy the same outdoor activities here in Quincy, Adams County, and in fact the tri-state area, but they can do it at a lot lesser cost living in Quincy and Adams County.
And one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically about the campaign, and again, marketing initiatives, I do a little bit of that, so I kind of get that. I've seen the billboards, and we've utilized billboard advertising. I think it's effective, but it was odd because right across the river on the stretch of 61 between Palmyra and Hannibal, it seems like there's like 5 billboards.
Yeah.
It seems like that's kind of like, okay, this concentration, I guess, you're just trying to catch the people who are traveling the Avenue of the Saints, because we know there's not a lot of people who are going Marion to Adams. There's a lot of Adams to Marion going on right now.
No, so it was important. So how we developed the campaign was meeting with local employers to talk about how we should start the first, second approach. So if you take the alumni, that's one avenue, but then skilled workers. And originally we had talked about going outside of the Quincy area, about 100 miles, maybe to communities like Danville, Galesburg, Decatur, who have been hardest hit by job losses. But as we started talking to employers and they said their needs were immediate, that they felt they had a better chance to recruit workers within a 45 to 60 mile drive time. So you're seeing advertisements in Hannibal, Keokuk, Burlington, Macomb, Jacksonville. And that's really the first approach to say, hey, take a look at the jobs that are open in Quincy because, we have state-of-the-art factories, we have job opportunities, and just in the last month, we've had 2 people move from Missouri to Quincy to take a job that's open in our community.
But in looking at the folks who are right across the river, though, is that more of a job recruitment as opposed to a housing recruitment, or it's like, okay, maybe come here and work for a while, and if you don't want that 45-minute commute,
That's
maybe
right.
you'll move over?
That's right. So it's, our goal is to help our employers address their number one challenge, which is a talent and worker shortage. And so, if folks want to, live outside of Quincy and Adams County, that's great. We still have jobs for you. We'd like you to do that. And we know then, too, as people are working in Quincy and Adams County and having that long commute, if we become a community where there's more things to do, more places for people to shop, then it's going to be harder for them to justify living 30 and 40 minutes away when they're spending a majority of time in our community. And so one of the things that is unique about this as well is that we are using a CRM system to track leads, and we have had over 90 conversations with people who have wanted to get more information about Quincy and Adams County, learn about the QRAP incentive programs, and to date we've been able to help 11 people with moves. And just today I was on a conversation with a former student athlete at John Wood Community College who works remotely, loved his time here in Quincy, and wants to buy a house here in the summer. And so that's what this program is designed to do, is for the first time, and really any time that I can remember, we have a campaign that is targeted, a campaign that is specific, but one that we are directly talking to people on a one-on-one basis, telling them about the benefits of our community. And then if they need help finding a job, we also do that for them. So I've sent out probably 100 resumes in the last, this campaign starts September the 8th. So in 1 month, I've sent 100 resumes to employers to say, hey, these are people that have reached out and said they would like you to consider them. And that's something I don't think that our community has had before.
In that capacity, I know, you've got a member of your staff who works with a lot of the local agencies, Angela Caldwell, and I've always thought she's done a pretty good job in that. Does a lot of this fall on her to continue to work with these other agencies in this sort of thing?
Well, yeah. I mean, workforce development is a challenge when you have a labor shortage. And so when workforce development, when you're a community that recently had a factory close, you can measure that pretty easily because like in Galesburg, Illinois, you have 4,000 people without a job. Well, workforce development then is to retrain those people and make sure they stay in your community and find jobs. Well, when there's a worker shortage, workforce development then is really about connecting people who have skill sets to the jobs available, or developing people who may not have skill sets into those jobs. So for example, we just passed with the county the Adams County Empowered program, which is a unique program with the probation department, where we've identified 100 individuals on probation who are either unemployed or underemployed, and we're going to essentially connect them with entry-level jobs in 5 local manufacturers, but then also help them remove the barriers to employment. So we're working with them to make sure they have childcare, to make sure they have rides to work, and to make sure they have a mentor off-site who can really help them as they're maybe facing some challenges in, the difficulties of having a full-time job, and maybe what other things they have going on in their life.
When people were talking about earlier when we had the state and the federal spiffs for unemployment. Spiff's a bad word, but the unemployment, they added the extra unemployment because of the pandemic.
Yep.
So you had a lot of people who are sitting around saying these people are getting paid around do nothing, yada yada yada. But then these people, then the workers though are going back to work, and then talking to a lot of my employer friends, it's like it's just really tough, to get people to show up, to get people to do the job. I mean, a lot of people want to say, well, you need to offer, maybe you need to offer a little more. And a lot of companies are. A lot of companies over the last 6 months to a year have went from $13 to $15 to $17 to make this happen. So I think the companies are doing their part. If they're seeing this, they're saying, okay, we're going to make this happen. But still, it's still going to be, we have to, at some point, it's got to be the personal responsibility that that person with that job is going to get up and go to work. And talking about, giving the people who are on probation, essentially giving them a second chance, it's something that you really hope, okay, here it is, value it and make it happen, take advantage of it.
Yeah, and that's really too one of the unique things about this program is we're using measurables, so that way at the end of 6 months we can say, okay, out of those 100 or so individuals that we targeted, how many actually went for that initial assessment, how many went to the job, how many stayed on at the job. And so we can see if this is a good model that maybe we can take into other areas of our community. And it's something I commend State's Attorney Farha, who really had this idea from a program he ran a couple years ago that ran into some roadblocks. And his office and the probation department and the county board really deserve a lot of praise for helping to get this program off the ground.
What are you telling that guy who's been working in Quincy for 25 years, owned that house, paid his taxes, house is paid off, and you're giving this rebate to these folks, and those guys are sitting there having a beer at the corner talking to their buddies saying, where's my rebate? What are you telling them?
Well, I can tell you that in order for us to continue to be a community that people want to live in, we have to fill the jobs that are here. And as you know, we have people who are here who aren't filling them. And if they ain't filling them, then we've got to get people here to do it. And if we don't, we will see sometimes it's not even a slow decline in our quality of life. You'll see housing values decrease, which will directly affect, that person's worth. But also, then you start seeing crime and things like that. And then also, too, your tax burden will increase because as you lose population, if you do not do anything to raise revenue, which you can do by having more people shop and earn a living in your community, or other than that, to pay for essential government services, that means it's going to fall on the fewer and fewer people who live in that community.
In looking at that overall job market as well, and I know in my time when I was with DES and we'd look at these numbers and see where they would go, and you would see that worker, because basically you've got your labor force, but then when you've got that person who sort of drops off the radar, and the numbers are a little askew. How much faith do you have right now that we as a community have maybe, every time we say we're post-pandemic, something flares up, but how confident are you that maybe we're past that and starting to kind of see light at the end of the tunnel and we can pick up steam?
Listen, I think we can pick up steam at any moment now. I've talked to a number of manufacturers who've said that if their customers stop experience a slowdown, think about the auto manufacturers who are in a complete almost shutdown right now, that their need for employees is basically going to double. And so I can tell you that we did a good job of balancing, being a healthy community and keeping people working during the COVID pandemic, which, in my opinion, made us ready to, come out of COVID better for it. And that was the goal in the end, is to make sure that we came out better for it. But I can tell you what, I think that we have, between the strategic marketing campaign, between our employers ready to just, grow at double digits when it comes to output, and then with hopefully some developments that would come here. I tell you what, I think we're poised for growth. We just need that next thing to land.
And when Fred Jones comes and says, I want to bring my widget factory here, are you going to make that? Is that? I know there's been controversy and discussion in the past that we really can't handle it. But what do you say if Fred wants to bring his widget company here? You got room for him. You make it work, right?
Well, we never say no to business. And I just had a supplier of one of our manufacturers call me this week that is looking for square footage, so that way actually they can reduce the time it takes to deliver product to this manufacturer. And so of course we help them out, and also we help out those building owners by filling their spaces. But I can tell you one of the challenges that we have right now is we don't just have a lack of housing, but we have a lack of commercial buildings and a lack of warehouse space. And so as we've seen GREDF really evolve over the 30 some years that we've been here, where you saw really during Jim Mentesi's time, he was connecting the dots of things that Quincy didn't have. So you saw the Schneiderman Industrial Park, and you saw the work that he did to make sure that we had retailers that weren't here before. And during Marcel's time, you really saw that he was really battling some of the effects of the downturn in the Illinois economy, and we had to fight Quincy compressor leaving. We had a company that was trying to expand, and the state was getting in their way, and GREDF was trying to help facilitate that so they can still have a building expansion. And so we've seen that, and now what we're hearing is, from our members is, hey, our number one challenge is talent. And, at the end of the day, we need GREDF to focus on, spend a majority of your time on filling our jobs. And that's what we're here to do. But it doesn't mean that we'll stop doing what we've traditionally done in the past.
Because, aside from the revenue you get from the city and the county, a great deal of your revenue, so you can actually run your operation, comes from the membership from these companies.
That's right. That's right. It's a great model that really most communities have adopted now, but you still see it the other way, where some cities and counties have their own economic development agencies. But what we're able to do is we're funded by city and county dollars, but we're also funded by member dollars. And so it helps us because we have private partners who have skin in the game, who want to make sure that our organization is meeting the needs of the business community. And I think it helps us stay competitive. It helps us evolve with their needs, and that's what every good organization should do. And it also helps the city and county because it reduces their cost to run an economic development organization. We have 4 staff members, rental space and all that, and the city and county gets a pretty good deal because we're able to leverage their dollars with private dollars.
And of course, the one thing that you are still responsible for, even though you are no longer mayor, is Target. You are the guy who's supposed to bring Target to town. My wife says it's still on you because you're in a position to do that. Give us the Target update. When's it coming?
Listen, I can tell you that the city of Quincy during my term hired a retail marketing firm called Nextsite, and in the spring we identified 40 I would say franchises that aren't here in Quincy but are in other communities, and we are actively working to get further along in conversations with those franchises. And so, again, I think nationally you still see a little bit of COVID fatigue, but I think we will start getting out of that. So we don't have any developments now that we can announce, but I can tell you, I think that, this time next year, we should have some things that we can point back to. And by the way, the city took on the need for filling these retail spaces, a couple years ago, and I think we see that if we're going to continue to keep, your wife shopping in Quincy and all my loved ones, we got to give them options to shop and the places they want to be at.
Yeah. She's wearing TJ Maxx out. I'm telling you that right now.
There you go. There you go.
But still, yeah. So 1 year from now, if you have Target here, you're a success. You can retire then early. That's all you got to do. Bring Target.
There you go. If only it was that simple.
It's that simple. There's buildings
Schultz
out there.
and Spring would be on a beach.
Exactly.
So,
That's all you had to do.
Yeah.
So, well, I want to thank you for your time,
Yes.
and I surely appreciate you coming by. We'll do this again in the not-too-distant future.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
That's Kyle Moore, the president of GREDF. I'm Bob Goff, and thank you for watching. Have a great week.